Yeah, so today we're going to talk about Athens and kind of what is different between Athens and Sparta. They are basically polar opposites. And because of that, you know the expression opposites attract? Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to be attracted to each other, but not in a good way, right? They're going to be fighting each other. They don't agree with each other. Athens has kind of the mentality of Spartans are just dumb soldiers. And Spartans have the idea that, oh, these people are just book smart weaklings, right? So they don't really get along that well, and that will slowly build up until they go to war with each other. So we talked about this place yesterday, okay? And you had some reading about it. So after you've done your reading and after our class yesterday, what more can you tell me about Sparta? I'm going to pretend that I don't know anything. What can you tell me about Sparta? Yes?
They had the locals as slaves.
Perfect, correct. What else? Yes?
They like fighting. They're all about fighting.
Yep, they're all about fighting and being a soldier. Perfect.
You were a soldier, basically, from a very young age. If you were a boy till like you were 60 if you became a citizen.
Yeah, perfect. Very good. Yes?
If you were born with like a disability,
Yeah, if you're born with a disability, you're dead. Pretty bad, huh? What else? Anything else?
Okay, I don't know. Okay. Like they would kill the slaves at random times.
Yep, they did. You're very correct. What else? Anything else? They killed the helots, right?
Yeah.
Anything else you can tell me about Sparta? What about? I'm trying to think. Did they live with their wives?
No.
No. And what about their clothes? There's something interesting about their clothes.
You got like a cloak, like once a year or something.
Yeah, a cloak once a year. Great. What other things were there? So they had their one cloak. Did they have shoes?
No.
Didn't have shoes. Did they have a nice, comfortable bed?
No.
No. All right. So their life was pretty rough, and that is why we have the expression, "He lives a Spartan life." It doesn't mean that you're a big, strong soldier. It means that you don't have luxuries, right? You don't have gold, jewelry, fancy cars, TV. You live a very simple life. So that's where that expression comes from. And pretty good so far, guys. So what can you tell me about how their society was made up? Yes.
An oligarchy.
Perfect. They have an oligarchy. Great. And what else?
There's a triangle, social triangle.
It's a social triangle. Great. A hierarchy. Perfect. Do you remember the levels of this triangle?
There was, I don't know how to say it, the Spartiate.
Yep. Perfect.
And then the Perosi.
Perfect. Good enough.
Helots.
Very good. Yes, you are correct. Very, very good. In your reading, what was a Spartan woman's life like? Would you say it was good or bad? Bad?
Good, but like, I feel like it was good, but I don't know how to say it, like, it could be better.
Okay, sure. Yeah. That's a fair statement. Actually, although Sparta is known for kind of having a very rough social hierarchy, their little triangle, actually women were afforded more freedom than they were in Athens, which is kind of a big surprise. What did you notice about Spartan women in birth? Do you remember what was in that? Like, what was women's major role in society?
To like reproduce.
To reproduce, to have lots of kids, right? You want to have lots of soldiers, so you got to have lots of kids.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you have to have kids?
Yeah, pretty much.
That is. What if you didn't want to? They just made you.
I mean, you're probably going to get married, right?
Yeah.
So they probably expect you to have kids. I'm sure there were some women who did it, right? Those things kind of happen. But it would have been a big part of their society from when they were raised until when they get older that you need to have kids, you need to have kids. Now, I'm pretty sure it was in your reading. Is there something interesting about relationships in Sparta?
Yeah.
Like a lot of little, like the young boys and like the mentor and stuff would be together.
Yep, that's true. Perfect. What about if a woman was married and she had a kid and the kid wasn't hers? Is that bad or good in this society?
Good.
Good. Yeah, because she's having more kids, right? So the idea is having more soldiers, even if it's not your a child with your husband, wasn't a big deal. Spartans would have said, well, at least she's having kids, right? So women are afforded kind of more sexual freedom, but do they have any rights? They don't, right? Because they're not soldiers. So they have some things that are more open, but other parts where they're kind of closed off from society. Great, this is really good. You guys remembered a lot. Excellent. Now, yesterday we talked about the area the Spartans lived in. Do we remember the name of it?
It was like the
Peninsula.
peninsula.
Something, well, yeah, well, it's such a key.
Vanilla pieces or something.
Peloponnesian, good. That's close enough for me. Excellent. And we talked about, and we looked at how, was Sparta near the sea?
Yes. No.
No, it's far away. We can see it right here on the map. All right, and it's very far inland. So do you think having a navy is a priority for them?
No.
No, okay. That's going to be really important later because if you look, there's water all around it. And this is going to be a big advantage for Athens over Sparta. So this is Attica, right? It's right. Okay, it's on the board over there. So Attica is another area of Greece. You can see on this map, all this red area is what we're going to call Athenian influence, right? Of course, there's only one city that's Athens, but this red area would be areas that they're heavily involved in. They basically control. Maybe not in name, but in theory and in power, they control, have influence over this red area. So not only is it very close to the sea and water, but it's also really close to the Peloponnesian Peninsula. And even this island right here is super close to Sparta. Like really, really close to Sparta. So there's going to be some kind of cultural influence going back and forth. Traders would do business with Sparta and Athens, right? And if we look here, this is a I can never say that word. Topographical view of Attica in Greece. What do you notice about it?
Mountains.
Yep, lots of mountains up here. Awesome. Where would you expect their city to be?
On the flat land.
Yeah, exactly. So all of these trading ports and cities are going to grow up around this area because it's flat, right? Just like normal. So they're on the sea. I just explained they have a navy. So that's going to be hugely, hugely popular. Another important aspect is going to start small, but really balloon up over time. So you have Athens here in Attica. We know they have a navy. We know they're really surrounded by lots of islands and they're in the sea. So if you want to trade, what is something you must have in order to trade?
Boat.
Boats? Yep. But
Something to trade for.
something to trade for, exactly. So what did Spartans use for money? Remember?
Gold.
Coins.
Not gold, not coins. So in Sparta, they use like little pieces of metal, like little square pieces. Think of like a mini bar, right? Not a bar of gold, but a bar of iron or a really hard material. They didn't want it to be shiny. They didn't want it to be decorated because is that Spartan?
No.
That's not Sparta, right? Greece, sorry, not Greece. Athens is the opposite, okay? Athens is going to have their own form of currency, right? That is a big deal, right? Because once an area gets their own standardized version of currency, they can kind of dictate prices. So, for example, if I have gold coins, for example, here in Athens, I'm able to use those gold coins in many different areas because gold is valuable. But iron bars, are they as valuable?
No.
They're not, right? So that's going to make Athens kind of a big trading superpower. As you can see here, right? These dark red parts, it's hard to see at the bottom, so I'll just explain it. The dark red parts are what we call their region of influence. They did not control these areas, but money that would be used there, the products that you could buy there, or that you could trade, would come from this orange area right here, which is the Greek homeland. So even the Minoan areas, as you can see, Athens was trading super far. And at the time, this is pretty much most of the known world, right? To them, this was pretty much the known world. So they're really going above and beyond. Even going up into areas which would later be Russia, going down into Egypt. Here we have Africa. So we notice it's a huge expansion of trading. This is going to make them really, really rich and powerful. And if we look at these little dots on the bottom of the map, they look like little cups or pottery, right? These are places where archaeologists have found Greek goods from this time period. So if you look, it's pretty amazing. This is modern day France, right? We have goods all the way up in modern day France. We have goods up into what is now Russia, Egypt. So they traded really far abroad, really, really far abroad. What is one huge advantage? It doesn't have to be here, just in your everyday life. What's a big advantage of traveling?
Cars.
Sorry?
Cars.
No, we said, what's an advantage if you travel? What is something you always get from traveling?
Knowledge.
You always get knowledge, right? Because you have new cultures, new ideas coming and changing how you think. So all of this exposure to these different places all over the world, it's going to come back to Greece. It's going to come back to Athens, and it's really going to make Athens become, how do I want to say it? Like Silicon Valley, but ancient style, right? Instead of computers, though, they're using the computer God gave you, they're using their brain. So this is going to have a huge influence on philosophy, which we're going to get into a little bit later. Hold on. Now, we talked about Spartans' structure, their triangle, how their society is made up. So what I'm going to have you do, you're going to work together. So you three, you can work together. Just want to bring your chair over a little bit. My question to you, if we're looking, oh, sorry, let me move this. Let me move. So here I have different groups of people who make up a society. My question to you is, how do you think these groups of people were treated? If we had a triangle, right, like we did for Sparta, is Athens going to be a triangle? That's up to you. You're going to have a guess, all right? But what I would like you to discuss, how do you think their society is made up? And the second question, what freedoms or powers do you think these groups of people have? So for example, aristocrats, what powers and freedoms or privileges do they have? Slaves, what do you think their freedoms or privileges are? Non-Athenians, so foreigners. Remember, a foreigner could have been a Spartan who moved to Athens, right? Is somebody just outside of Athens. Farmers and farm workers, right? People who just work on farms. And women and children. So at your table, I would like you to talk about what freedoms do you think they have? What do you think their society looks like? Go ahead. You don't know, so this is just a guess.
I think we are more like, see those guys there? I think they have a lot of like freedom and stuff. Or we can involve those.
I don't know.
Slaves got
Well,
nothing.
they get land though.
I think foreigners did not
Probably got treated with a little respect, but most of them just.
I don't think women had any rights in it.
I don't think this was as bad as Sparta though. As bad as nation. Because this guy's in the top left.
So which one do you want right now?
So you guys are probably taking rules.
Yeah.
Slaves. Do you think they have any
Whatever.
freedoms or rights?
I don't know.
Did they get land too?
Slaves?
Yeah. Well,
What do you think? Have a guess.
Women-
Because you don't know, right? So you're just having a guess. So there's no right or wrong. What do you think?
I think slaves had more
I
rights
don't
than women.
know.
That's fine, but have a guess.
No, right? Because it's part of their bought land,
Which one?
right?
Scissor.
Or is that?
Okay.
Well, Fox.
Sparta, they worked the land, but they worked the land for the classes who were above them,
Okay.
right? So like if I was a Spartan and I don't know, those people over there are my slaves, they will work the land for me. So I don't have to work. Because remember, I'm a soldier, right? I can't be a bum.
What?
She was still on edge.
Well,
Doesn't look like she's pushing a massive working prostate and while getting it.
because didn't they say that someone could just run
And
across
just
the
a
lawn
skirt.
and kill
What
them?
is happening to this bowl?
Okay.
What?
In fact, if you were a soldier and you were training to be an adult or something, that would be one of your jobs, to go around and find a helot to kill.
No.
Kind of crazy, right? I mean, how awful life would that be? Always looking over your shoulder, wondering if some kid's gonna come up and stab you. That's pretty awful. What do you think about non-Athenians or foreigners?
Probably not
Honestly,
treated as
I
good.
think.
Okay, not treated as great, but better than slaves. Do you remember if you were a foreigner in Sparta, what part of the triangle were you in?
The bottom. Not the bottom. I think that's all.
I guess.
Middle, exactly.
Genghis Khan.
So they were given some rights, right? They were protected by the law, but they didn't really own property.
Dollar sign is Genghis Khan.
You think it's gonna be the same here?
It's like a samurai guy that killed like 14% of the entire world population.
I feel maybe, what if they
Like 100
learn
million people.
from them? Like,
Yeah.
learn from stuff?
He was like the ruler of the
That's
Mongolian
true.
Empire.
Because you've got to remember this area is pretty big, so they're
Yeah,
gonna need
he's
people
like
with
a
different
vet.
skills,
He
right?
was the big
That's true.
samurai.
All right.
guys.
What do you think about farmers? People who work on farms.
Like that.
I think that show.
It's a up to them. Actually,
Sure. Now, if you notice, number 2 is slaves, and number 4 is farmers and farm workers. So do you think slaves are often working on farmlands?
No.
Maybe less, yeah. Sure.
the slaves grew up like they're working on
Okay.
farms or whatever.
Yeah, that would make more sense. It ties the land, but they're not slaves. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Honestly, I'm gonna
So,
take the
if they
Brady's.
like have like, farm stands, like where would they get all their stuff that they needed?
You bring it into the city in a big marketplace.
Okay.
Like, for example, do you know what a wet market is?
What do you
Uh,
have now? It's nothing.
They have any wet markets in Maine? There are. Yeah, like a wet market would be kind of like, you know when you go into a big city like Boston, New York, there's always some marketplaces where trucks will drive in really early in the morning and drop off all the fresh fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would have been
that,
something like that.
that,
And the other thing to remember is,
I have a diamond.
one thing that we're gonna notice in all of these cultures, that wine is really, really important. You know why wine is important? They made it, sure, but, so I'm reading you. So, in this culture, wine is really important. Any reason why wine would be so important?
Oh, well, okay. I don't know about this one, but you said yesterday
Uh-huh.
that they would embarrass the slaves, right? Though?
in Sparta, they would make slaves get drunk to show the kids, oh, don't be like him, don't be like him. Only slaves get drunk. Yeah, you're right. But remember, in Greece, they have a god of wine as well.
Yeah.
What's the advantage of alcohol back in these old days? I mean, obviously, I'm sure the Greeks love to get drunk sometimes, but what do you think is a huge advantage of alcohol?
Not everyone can have it.
Okay, not everyone can have it. It makes people look rich, but here's a big one, right? And this is really important for beer. If I just go down the street and I'm super thirsty, can I just drink out of the river?
No.
I mean, I can,
Oh,
but
yeah.
why shouldn't I?
Because it's dirty. You get a third arm.
The Swift River is not that bad.
Oh, was it cleaner than the water?
It's cleaner than water, right? Remember, when you have alcohol, right, it ferments, right? It means it gets really kind of dirty, right? And then eventually that all kind of dies out. So wine and beer and things like that were actually safer than a lot of water you could drink. So that's a big, big deal, especially because, let's be honest, in this time, they were pooping and peeing in the water all the time, right? Like, why wouldn't they though, right? Because, I mean, if I poop in the river here and I want to go swimming, I just go up the river, right? Not a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is a big part of it. Let's look now at, actually, quick question. Is their society going to be a triangle? Yes or no? What do you think? No? No? What do you think? Sorry?
I don't know.
That's fine. If you don't know, that's cool. Last quick question. On the board to the right, do you think these groups of people can vote? Do you think they can own land? So quickly go around with your group. Can they vote? Can they own land? Okay? What do you guys think? Can they vote?
No.
So can aristocrats vote?
I think aristocrats could vote.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because aren't aristocrats like artists and stuff? No.
That's artisan.
Oh.
The
What?
people who inherit stuff from their parents.
Aristocrat is the Greek word for best men.
Okay, so yes.
And they were the richest people.
Isn't that like the godfathers or something?
Yeah, very good. Very, very good. What do you guys think? Could slaves vote?
No.
Could non-Athenians vote?
No.
No? What do you guys think?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends. Maybe how long they've been there.
Okay, that's a good idea. I like that idea. Do you think farmers could vote?
No. Maybe. I take it back. Don't listen to me.
I really don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. We're going to go over that right now. Whoops. Yeah, unfortunately, Athens also has a triangle for their social structure. Anytime a society has a triangle for their social structure, it's normally not very good because that means the power is sitting at the top. But what's the problem if the power sits at the top? This little triangle is way smaller than the rest of those branches, right? Yeah.
They still have slaves at the bottom. Would they treat them as bad as the Spartans would? Or?
No, not as bad.
So they want to get killed or anything?
I mean, I'm sure many did get killed, but for example, in Sparta, to show that you were a man, you'd have to go and kill a strong slave, right? They wouldn't be doing that in Athens. I'm not 100% sure. I can't read their minds, but I'm sure a normal Athenian person would say, if you killed a slave, I'm losing money, right? Like you're wasting a life that could be useful. All right, so this is how their structure is set up. Free male citizens who had all rights. So if you were born in Athens and you were a man and your father gave you his farm, you can vote. Do you know what a tenant farmer is? A tenant farmer is not a slave, but it is a citizen from Athens who will go to a farmer and say, I will work on your farm if you give me a place to live, food, and some money. So they are people who work on a farmer's land. Think of them as a farmhand or something like that. Sorry, this should say rights, not sites. My mistake. So at the top, we have Athenian males. Can own land, can vote. Under them, you have free non-citizens with some rights. It should not say sites. My apologies. So if you're a woman and child, you do have some rights. You will not be able to vote. You will not be able to own land. Basically, the laws will protect you. If somebody tries to murder you and people see it, you're going to be protected. Somebody steals from you, you're going to be protected. And of course, at the bottom, like most societies, you have slaves. Is it that different from Sparta? It's not terribly different. They have more people have more rights, but all the power is concentrated at the top. So in Sparta, you have 2 kings sitting at the top. Here you have an aristocracy, so you'll have groups, maybe a couple families, so it'll be more than 2. But that's still not very fair to the population. So what we're going to notice, till when? What we're going to notice is that this triangle doesn't really change, even in our society today, right? You made your triangle yesterday, right? It kind of still is the same. It's pretty close, right? It's pretty close. So that kind of brings up one big question. If we have their form of government, which is a democracy, does democracy always look like this? It's hard to tell. Alrighty. Can I move to the next one? Are we good? Give me a second.
Okay, yeah, you're good.
Okay. Quick question. Who can and can't vote in America?
People who are considered like American citizens that are over 18.
Yeah, perfect. Is that everybody? Okay, you have to be a U.S. citizen. So you have to have a U.S. passport. You have to be over 18. Yes.
I don't think you have like a criminal record.
That's true. Some states, if you, I'm trying to remember. I think like in Georgia, for example, if I were to commit a crime and then I were to live in Georgia, I can no longer vote.
Oh, you have to be on a deferment for 2.5 years, and then you have to go to court and pay money.
Yep. Some states will let you kind of swap. So maybe I committed a crime in Georgia and I'm not allowed to vote in Georgia. But if I move to New York and I have proof that I live in New York for a certain amount of time, New York will let me vote. So in the US, it goes a little bit differently. Who can't vote in America? Immigrants, right? Like my wife can't vote.
Under 18.
Under 18, sure. Anything else? No, this is pretty, so our society is a little bit more fair as far as voting than Sparta or Athens, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Our system might not be perfect, but it provides voting rights for a lot of people, which is really, really important. Now, just like Sparta, Athens shifted from having a powerful king to a government run by aristocrats, right? Only males with property could hold political office. All adult male citizens met in an assembly, which elected generals in wartime and elected 9 archons. Archons served 1-year terms. They served as officers to the cities, helping with administration. The important thing to remember here, all male citizens. Could we do that in America?
No.
No, we have too many people. We can't all get together at the same time and discuss an issue, right? We have different time zones, our population's very large. We are not able to do that. Now remember, these 9 archons are picked by everybody. Everybody gets to vote on these archons, but they only get to serve it for 1 year. So for example, if we were in this classroom and there was a war going on, maybe they picked us to be the archons. And my job is maybe to be responsible for getting all the weapons we need. Maybe Celeste's job is making sure we have enough bows, right? So archons served different things in the city, like administration. Now, here's a quick question. Everybody gets to vote on these archons. So it's a war and we need to pick a general. Just because we all vote, does that mean we made the right choice? No, right? This is a flaw in democracy. The most qualified person doesn't always get the job. I think our current president is a good example of that, right? Sometimes we pick people who might not be the best at particular things. Alrighty. Good right here. Yep. Okay. Now this is a big one, okay? This is a word you're going to hear often as you become more knowledgeable, right? People were getting angry that laws weren't written down. So in 621 BC, the Archon Draco wrote Athens' first laws. So this is very important. He gave power to the common people, right? If you are just a normal Athenian person, you have political power. The next one is they could cite written laws rather than an aristocratic judge. For example, if Owen is a judge, right, and he's from a rich, well-to-do family, right, and I get into some trouble, he might look down on me because I'm not as wealthy as he is. Does that mean the law will be fair? No, right? So written laws became normal. It made Athens stronger by punishment being administered by the government and not the individual. So, for example, I'm trying to think of a good example. If Owen catches me stealing some of his food at the market and a bunch of people see me do it, right? Owen can just kind of beat the crap out of me because everybody knows I did it, right? And because it's his property, he can punish me. This changed that. They have a law. Now the government and the judges have to follow it. So this guy's really important. It's famous for its extreme punishments. If you stole a cabbage, it was punishable by death. Right? Stealing was punishable by death. Right? The reason why, besides the fact that he's very important, this is a word you will often see in politics. Right? If we use the word draconian, it means something is super extreme and harsh. To give you a good example, in Thailand, it's illegal to say anything bad about the king. For example, in Thailand, the king's face is on all their money. right? If you're walking down the street and money flies out of your hand and you put your foot on it to stop the money, you'll go to jail because you stepped on the king's face. Is that ridiculous? Yes, that is a draconian law. It's too extreme, too harsh. Yes, his laws are too extreme. I think he's kind of a bad guy, but he did something good. He actually made laws. So it wasn't just the rich getting away with everything. Ooh, we're running out of time. Ready? I will put this PPT online as well today, if you want to look at it, because there's quite a bit to go over today. Nobles and metics, right, became increasingly rich from trade, and farmers became poorer and poorer. Many slaves due to the debt owned. The number of slaves and poor rose, and they became angry, right? So in 594, Solon erased the debt of the poor and outlawed slavery for debt. Before, if I owed Owen a bunch of money, I basically become his slave because I can't pay off his debt, right? Just like now, so many people get a credit card and then they put too much on their credit card and they can't pay it and they're paying more and more money each month, right? That is kind of similar. He made it illegal. And if I owed Owen like $1,000, Solon goes, whoosh, you don't owe him money anymore, you're free. So, pretty good guy. He wanted to make citizenship in Athens down to wealth and not by birth. That's not so good. He divided Athens into 4 groups based on wealth, all right? So, he has a great idea, right? No slavery due to debt. But he's also saying, hey, rich people should have a little bit more. Not the best idea in the world. So the 2 richest groups could hold office, and all citizens were able to sit in the assembly that elected those officials. These changes would make Athens into a more representative mode of government. So a big key thing we need to realize is democracy is everybody has the same say. In America, we have representative democracy. So like if I like Susan Collins, I vote for Susan Collins. And Susan Collins goes to Washington to represent me, right? That's what's happening here. Instead of everybody having a vote, he's saying, oh, you guys can vote to pick who you like, but they make the decisions. That's exactly the type of government we have now, right? If you like Biden and you want him to be president, then you vote for him and he represents you. If you want Trump to be president, you vote for him and he represents you, right? It kind of takes some of the freedom out of voting because now not everything's equal. The person you vote for, you have to trust them to do a good job. So what will end up happening is we'll end up having a tyrant come over and topple this government, right? And everything will change from this point onward. Let me close this really quickly. So that's all for